Welcome back to the most professional StarCraft 2 with our first Grand Finalist, the rank 1 Terran in the world of the blue. It's Team Liquid's Clem, facing off against arguably the best Protoss out there. In the red, the mysterious MaxPax. In a best of 7 Terran versus Protoss Grand Finals toward his $5,000 Team Liquid map contest tournament. And before we get started, it'd be incredible. You could smash that like button or maybe even subscribe. And we got the algorithm. And Jimmy, what do we have? 1,839 likes on this video, on this cast. And I'll cast another one. I'll probably do it anyways, because I don't know what else I do with my life. But thank you for watching. Hopefully, you've had a good day so far. And hopefully it's about to get just a little bit better than the very first SCV forced into an early retirement by the initial probe, which will get up the ramp, but not quite far enough, gets away. And the First Blood goes to Clem. MaxPax digs a little bit too deep, a little bit too greedily, and the probe gets taken out. But he did get the scouting information. An acceptable loss, in my humble and modest opinion, as seeing the factory tech lab is actually a huge informational coup. And Clem has not seen the Stargate that is already 80% of the way done inside of MaxPax's base. I have to imagine, now that he knows for sure the option for Cyclone is there, it's going to be Phoenix, as that is almost hard counter to the Cyclone play. An Oracle, on the other hand, can easily get blown out of the sky by a Widow Mine or chased down by the Cyclone itself. And Phoenixes are the choice. Not the least bit surprised with... Well, these are... I don't really think there's a contest here. The two best micro players in the world, using every single unit from the very start of the game. Not that they can't macro. It's just most of their opponents never get there because they set absolutely unrealistic standards for those of us almost double their age. MaxPax is 21, but it is the bleeding edge of what you can do, and then some with some of these units. As Clem comes up with his Cyclone and Reaper, can jump up to the high ground, locks onto the Adept, spots the Stargate, and immediately backs off, realizing that Phoenixes are an existential threat. But we'll send the Reaper to meet itself, and the Cyclone will follow it as well. Before it can even get to the Storm Drain, here on Storm Surge, our first of potentially 7 maps out of the 15 in the map contest. We couldn't make them play 15 maps, unfortunately. But I'll take as many as I can get. Does he actually see the Widow Mines? So the Storm Drain is a speed zone. The Marines are slower, going against the current here, which speeds up units on your side of the map. We'll see if the inclement weather helps Clement, or if it helps MaxPax max out and packs his bags and send them across the map. Give me. Meanwhile, MaxPax swinging around the tech tree like a Protoss Tarzan right now. He's got Phoenixes in the sky and takes to the strongest ground. There are 2 different angles you can go as Protoss when you follow up from Phoenixes. Well, I guess there's 3, but 2 if you're sane. And Hero is not here. He couldn't be here today. Clem made sure of that. Sorry. Moving on. The Robo Bay. The direct ground army, which is more expensive, more technical, and potentially more effective. Widowmine gets a free punch shot. And then there's the mass charge lot play, which can easily overrun an unprepared opponent, but has less micro potential. So MaxPax, of course, chooses the more technical option, which is very on brand. Compared to the Fallen Hero, MaxPax is a lot more careful with expanding and a lot more focused on building the right army and using it well, as opposed to building so much that you can't help but succeed. It's a whole different philosophy of Protoss to probably the only other player competitive with him. Again, Hero. The medevac getting pushed along the Storm Drain, and here comes Clem. That Colossus will be done at literally the second he needed it. His extended thermal lance is not quite as done as mine, but it'll be there soon enough. Not for this fight, though. The Colossus gets the swipe right before the tanks, picks up a He's just trying to interrupt the sieges. The Immortal helping to blast through. Guardian Shield doing a lot to help out both the air and ground. Will eventually be taken out. Up and down and up and down. And while the success of this push was up in the air, we'll put it down as a win for MaxPax. Wow, only 4 units left over for MaxPax. But 4 of the most important ones, none for Clem. MaxPax with exactly what he needed and almost not a unit more. He lost 4 Phoenixes, 3 Zealots, and a Adept and a Sentry. He got both tanks, all the Marines. He didn't actually chase down the Medivacs because, well, 1, there was only 1, and 2, it managed to retreat as the fight was going south. But MaxPax now taking a 4th base to the north side. Both players avoiding the storm drain when they can. The maps have several new terrain features, which we may get an opportunity if these two would stop punching each other in the face to admire. Though, I don't actually know how much either of them have, considering the way and frequency at which they play. The base, MaxPax just gives it up. Instead of taking a fight that could end with a less than ideal result, he gives up the Nexus in favor of building up the composition. Such a different style than we're used to seeing with some other Protoss against Clem. But a few charge lots will intercept a Marine as it comes up from the sewers. A 3rd base is finished for Clem. An observer will see it. The barracks have come online. Clem with a comparable amount of supply, which doesn't actually bode well for the Terran, especially considering how Warp Gate works. MaxPax has been holding at 60 probes, only now building more. Making his way through the drain. It's harder to go against the current on your opponent's side of the map, where you get a speed boost on your own. Clem retreating. He did the... Does he see the base at the 3 o'clock? He's sending Marines around, but MaxPax keeps intercepting them. I think eventually he'll see it over to the right side. He knows MaxPax is going to retake the 4th, but he's confident enough in 3 base versus 3.5. That sitting back is the ideal play for him now. And in fact, it looks like MaxPax is ready to go. The 4th base is spotted, but the fact it isn't done, I think puts no huge sense of urgency. But I may have lied. As Clem unsieges, and he has a whole raid of Vikings here. Meanwhile, the Colossi, distracted by the barracks. Oh no, the robotic squirrel's back at it again. And well, charge lots coming in from every angle, but the Colossi barely hit anything but a reactor and a barracks. The Vikings easily topple them. The rest of the army with no splash damage and an Archon, I guess, barely counts. Clem will chase down the dregs of the army, but a few charge lots slip through the gaps, which is most of the base because there's almost nothing left back at home. So MaxPax plummets. That was a disaster. 3 Colossi, 3 Phoenixes, and now he's relying on a desperate charge lot counter. He will be losing the Warp Prism, which eventually means that Clem can stop this in its tracks and make some of his own. 15 SCVs dead, but MaxPax has to restart his army composition almost from the beginning. He lost almost every single unit, especially units that aren't from a gateway. Ones you have to produce the old-fashioned way like the filthy Terrans do. Meanwhile, Clem, he has a massive supply lead, but his army is hitting. The charge lots are in the 3rd. Clem looking away. His camera's on the other side of the map. He loses a Viking. That's 2. 3. I think he got a Liberator as well. The charge lot's getting some damage done, so MaxPax forces Clem to look away. And Clem caught on the rocks, a little distracted as well. I think a little part of this is maps that they haven't played 300 times, so just these slight issues creating definitely closer situations than they might intend. But the Disruptor shot will hit 1 Marine and make 1 Marauder somewhat uncomfortable. Recharges the Sentry for Guardian Shield. Vikings hit the deck with nothing left to hit in the air. Very helpful against the Stalkers. And if they could get close enough, the Disruptor with that bonus mechanical damage. The charge lots in the 3rd. A Liberator to defend. Force Field. emotional support field did nothing but make it harder for the Disruptor to hit. The charge lots around the corner. The Liberation Zone. Devastating here for MaxPax. Clem loses another 13 SCVs, despite the fact he had a Liberator. As they don't kill the Zealots quite fast enough. Loses a Disruptor, recalls out some probes. The scan to the north splits the difference and scans for both bases. And Clem still has the momentum, but MaxPax is unwilling to let him kind of consolidate his position. He knocks down a couple medevacs, gets the Liberator, the charge lots on the front line, fires off a Disruptor shot, kills only a Zealot. A tough working relationship. MaxPax is holding on by the skin of his non-existent Protoss teeth right now, but Clem continually underprepared for the charge lock counters. That is very Clem, though. The best defense being a good offense, and almost ignoring the fact he might need defense at all, hoping he can just win the game with his control. And more often than not, it works out fine. But right now, MaxPax is slapping it all together. He still has 67 probes, but that puts his army supply at a devastatingly low level. Liberator is boxed out. Disruptor shots point blank. Pops one. Gets two. Nothing lands except for the Vikings. Now on the front line, the Liberator zoning out. The base, 23 probes. It's a disaster economically and generally for MaxPax, as he's going to lose his fourth base. He's going to lose his economic lead, and he already lost a huge chunk of his army supply. The charge lot's coming again. The Liberator a little off-center, and it's not covering the entire base. And the charge lots will take advantage of that. Though, champing at the bit. Trying to intercept the army. The medevacs are out of energy. The Marines and Marauders are not at full HP. Fires off a shot. Has to just... You can't cancel it, so he just throws it off to the side where it can't do too much damage. A couple more medevacs come up, and that's enough for Clem to turn the corner with the stems. But MaxPax cannot let Clem bring his army together, because it will just easily hammer him down. He's trying to catch as many smaller groups as possible. Throws out another force field that almost looks useful. Clem still hasn't had time to reposition the Liberator. There's too much going on across the entire board. And he's going backwards, well, into the Storm Drain. Disruptor shot gets a speed boost. And he slingshots it around the medevacs, and there's no units here. He has to pick up with some of them. The Marauders will retreat up to the high ground. But a Disruptor slingshot and some great Bling-Stalker micro. And the one thing I haven't mentioned, because I haven't been able to keep up, the upgrades. MaxPax has a 2 upgrade advantage. He's got +2 ground weapons to just +1 out of Clem. So, it's not everything, but it's definitely factoring into these fights. And that's why MaxPax is able to take such solid engagements, even against relatively large bio forces. The fact that, oh, Clem just finished +1 armor. I'm like, the fact he hasn't finished +1 armor is shocking. Which is good, because he finished it. But a small drop, a single Colossus, a Shrine to Dark is on the way. And Dark Templar, in this sort of low economy scenario, Dark Templar are the plot devices that they are throughout the campaign. Well, there's one in particular, right? The Stalkers will blunk forward and dismantle the drop, but a Venn diagram of freedom right on the front lines. And here comes Clem. He's looking to end it here. But can he? Is there enough? The Liberators will siege up. The Colossus adding some extra damage. The Stalkers over the side. He'll turn it back for now. He can't retreat too far. The Stalkers will kill the Liberators. He's going for the main. Picks up the drop, but he snipes off a Liberator. Make that 2. Is there a recall available? Yes. He needs to... Well, he's trying to... Clem is trying to bait it out. I'm surprised he didn't scan forward. The recall, he waited till the commit. Clem will depower some of this. He doesn't want to overstay his welcome. He'll get driven out for now. But the Stalkers, in position to intercept, splits off a couple medevacs with units in it. A Liberator trying to siege up the non-existent 4th base. And the game, still very much up in the air, just like these 2 medevacs. The Liberator will siege up the natural. Get a couple more probes, but the shield battery keeping... And Clem manually targets probes over the Stalkers, as the shield battery can't heal something that gets 1 shot. DT's coming in, trying to undercut the economy. I think he scanned it before it even killed an SCV. Maybe he got 1, but we don't have the counter, which means he got less than 2. And there's no non-integer numbers there. But MaxPax is on the ropes, trying to bounce back and tie him around Clem, but The drops on the other side. That means there's not that much back at home for Clem. But not that much may still be far too much. The charge lots are split off. Again, this same high ground. That same barracks that the first push broke on. Another charge lot off to the side. MaxPax doing what he can. The stalkers in the main. The drops in and out do the hokey pokey and drop them all about. The stalker's trapped in a prison of his own design. Oh no! Help me, step stalkers! He has to blink, but he can't blink down! And that might be the decider. Clem is stimming Terran across the field. The Colossus will be toppled. The stalkers will be forced, routed in a massive retreat. And MaxPax is down 40 supply. And the surge of Clem will be storming across the map. And despite the Templar archives, there's no storm to stop him. Clem holding it together. MaxPax with some failed attacks, despite the spirited defense. A single DT mixing in. One upgrade is not enough to turn the tide of Clem. And game one goes to the kid. Wow. All over the map. Storm Surge. I'm going to keep listing it because I love democracy. What do I mean? You'll be able to vote for your favorite maps from the Team Liquid map contest, and at least a few of the ones that are voted near the top of the list will be on the ladder. That might not mean much to you, but it will be the maps you're watching on these casts the majority of the time. So, if you're interested in seeing more of them, well, welcome to game number 2, Fear and Faith. And have I mentioned you? Have I mentioned tubes? YouTubes, if you would? I wouldn't, but our newest feature, Worker Hypertubes. Have you ever played Satisfactory? If you haven't, you should just stop this video and go play it. And I wouldn't even be mad. But it's a great game to have this video on in the background. So once you figure that out, and I haven't played the new update, I'm probably going to, but I don't have enough hours in the day. Well, there's too many good... Anyways, I digress. I don't remember why I started on that. I just wanted to talk about... Anyways, tubes! Worker-only tubes. I was talking about the hyper tubes from Satisfactory. It's pretty much that. Not the hyper cannons, if you know, you know. But, tubes that only workers can enter and use to scout. They don't go quicker. So I think some map makers have included speed zones to give them that hyper tube feel. But at normal walking speed, you'll be able to scout Clem's base from the northeast position. This is a 4-player map here, Fear and Faith. I believe they're set up so you can block it off with a single depot or pylon. Feels like a certain race has a potential advantage there, but he did give away his starting location by the tube he exited from, which, well, you know, it had to come in from somewhere if it came out from the other end. And more other profound comment. Jimmy, give Clem his point. It still counts. In fact, there's 2 tubes here. Great character. Another show you should watch, but I digress. What are you doing? Underneath the second... So there's a set of tubes between the third base locations in order to... Well, those are worker tubes. I am like 96% sure. Only workers can enter said tubes. And there's some worker-only paths as well with the little stubbled minerals, which is how we indicate it. I thought MaxPax was going to go for a proxy, but he was just waiting for his moment to send it back in. I do wonder if you can spawn close positions. A lot of 4-player maps in the past, which we haven't had any in the map pool for like... I don't even know. Memory loss, but... All I can remember is Frost, but I feel like we've had some since Frost. There had to be, right? Anyways... You usually have a restriction on certain spawning positions, but the tubes... There will come a day that I stop saying it like that. Like I'm excited about saying the word tubes. It is not this day. But I assume at some point. Especially if we get any of these maps into the pool. This is Fear and Faith. I'm trying to repeat. I'm not just repeating it for your benefit. It's also for mine. As a lot of the times I remember maps by, I don't judge a map by its name. Unless it has a cool name like Winter Madness. Unbiased, by the way. The madness is narcissism. I don't... but instead, I'm like, oh, is that the space station? Or if it doesn't have a very specific, like Golden Wall, for example. I'd be like, well, Golden Wall. But the thing about Golden Wall is that was the map feature. It was defining the map feature of Golden Wall. It wasn't just a fun name. Fear and Faith, on the other hand, is what Widow Mines are all about. Fear of Widow Mines existing, and faith that eventually at some point you'll deal with them without losing too many probes. So far, that faith is not misplaced, as Clem's mine drop finds just the sacrificial probes. He manages to get it out without even a single hit. It looks like the tubes are also air blockers, and are higher than the altitude at which players can usually fly. I stumbled through that sentence, but there are two dimensions, two levels. There's ground and air, and there's no Z-axis. All right, this isn't Homeworld, and nowadays Homeworld isn't either. Anyways, Widow Mine drop. He's buying so much time. We'll eventually let it go after a bunch of retargeting. A Warp Prism looking to do some counter damage. Clem has blocked off the tube. I don't know what happens if you send a probe across. Somebody needs to do the science. But right now, MaxPax scientifically dismantling the Marines. Just Marines are no contest for MaxPax's Blink and Warp Prism Stalkers. He has 2 flavors of Blink and is more than happy to use them. So far, the Widow Mine drop has bought a lot of space, but just comes up. He's going to go for the bunker. Oh, but he went too far. And again, too greedily. 3 Stalkers dead, most of the rest badly bruised. Quite a price to pay to take out a 100 mineral bunker. He was so ready to get it done in 2 volleys, but it took a 3rd. And that meant multiple tank volleys landed. A robotics bay is now on the way. Clem, wow. If you watch the minimap cam for a second. Oh, the minimap, for a lot of people might not know this, is in the bottom left corner and shows a representation of what's happening on the map. From what I've seen of many replays, a lot of people don't know that, but I like to give some basic tips and tricks, even 16 years in. I'm sorry for being condescending. That means talking down to you. But anyways, the point is Clem setting up the medevac to take the scenic route all the way around. I like how he did it by actually moving the camera as opposed to just clicking on the minimap as well. Interesting the quirks you could see with that extra screen. But an adept is waiting at the edge of the tube. I don't know if that's related. Again, only workers. And we're kind of bottled up here. The Blink Stalkers are danger... Spotted the medevac. Floating in the air lane. Another implication is if the air blockers are so close to the edge, it makes it a lot easier to intercept with Stalkers or Marines, or set up things like cannons and turrets to make sure Warp Prisms and medevacs can't get in easily. So it limits the options for that sort of counterattack. But there's so many bases on a 4-player map that potentially just expanding to another corner might be a way to divide and conquer. The Raven taking a few hits from the Stalkers, but a quieter early game. And by quieter, I don't mean quiet, I just mean less murdery than the previous. But that will change now, as the open field There's a bit of a median here choking this off. I'm not sure who that favors, but it looks like not even the Colossi can step over those finely manicured hedges in that advertisement for the Supernova Men's Club. All right. MaxPax. Extended thermal lance isn't done. Target firing. Takes out the Widow Mine. Down 20 supply, but he keeps the Colossi alive. The Warp Prism is in the middle of the map ready to cut off reinforcements. Thermal lance completed. Clem has +1. Those tanks in a difficult position. MaxPax is moving the charge lots back home. The Colossi are actually stepping between the bases. He gets right on top of the siege tanks. Clem not anticipating it. And the charge lot counter, he target fires down the sentries, gets as much value as he could. So, another kind of brutal engagement for both sides. But MaxPax manages to minimize his losses. He loses a couple sentries, a single stalker. Apparently Clem killed one of his own Marines. But keeps the Colossi and most of the stalkers alive. Still though, he only has 54 probes. He's actually almost all in. He really needs to do damage here. And Clem, he might not realize that at all. Especially once he scans this base, the fact that MaxPax is transferring, he's at 52 probes, and he hasn't built probes for quite a while. He might have some serious problems if this continues. The drop eventually gets cleaned up. He tried to stab back in. But Clem is thinking that MaxPax is booming his economy right now. He's adding gates. He's getting upgrades. And you know what? He's doing it now. But he's really focused on pumping up the army supply and supporting his 3 Colossi here. Make that 4. Oh, they're... Whoa! Whoa, whoa, whoa! Oh. You can't even see it. MaxPax actually reacted to it. Clem was also targeting. They both were jockeying around the Widow Mines that are straight up blocked. There is no way to see that until you see the targeting line. Which... Meanwhile, though, charge lots in the main, the Colossi in the third, creating a difficult situation. He's trying to divide in the hopes of conquering. 10 SCVs dead. MaxPax retakes the lead. Double drop. That's nearly 20 supply caught out on the map. That means the army supplies on Clem's side are about even. There's a real chance for MaxPax to take a fight. The Warp Prism, though, is caught by the Vikings. A full stim. This base... the charge lot's out in front. I don't think the stalkers are enough to deal with it. Still, dueling on the field. A fighting retreat. A recall. And he bought himself enough time to save the base. 34 SCVs dead. The working class is gutted, leaving just 34. He Thanos snapped the SCV count, giving the Terrans an excuse to rely on automation. But EMP's an observer? Was it an observer? No? What? Weird. Don't know if you want an EMP 1 unit then. Meanwhile, the main base, the Stalkers, very quickly will blink to target the medevacs themselves, but loses a lot of their number. There's another medevac. Did he take that down too? The medevacs in the top right corner were knocked out of the sky. Clem is now underwater in supply, though the Vikings may turn that a bit by knocking down the Colossi. The drops went right into the Stalkers. And I think, again, a little bit of that is just unfamiliarity with the map. MaxPax anticipated it. He cleans up the drop in the main. He denied the drop of the fourth. There are no more medevacs with this army. The Widow Mines do more harm than good. Unless you're a Protoss, in which case you're probably excited for it. And MaxPax with Blinkstock. GG! Just like that. Wow. Clem goes from a near 40 army supply advantage to GG in less than 1 minute. And it wasn't a big mistake. It was just MaxPax being half a step ahead. Blink and you'll miss it. He knocked out the 2 medevacs before they could even get to the 4th base. He defended the main, a little more costly. And the Colossi were in position to deflect the main attack. And with no economy back at home, that's it. Check and mate. Oh, my eyes. Another 4-player map. Wave Breaker. In order, Storm Surge was our first map. There will be a quiz at the end. The quiz is which one you like the best. Or like, actually you vote for 5 in the map contest voting. So, which 5 you like the best. And this is only 7 of the 15. You can see, I'm going to be casting more of this tournament. You might be like, this is a spoiler. No, it's not about who wins or loses. It's about the journey. So don't stop believing that liking and subscribing matters. What was I saying? Wave Breaker. A lot of water-themed maps, but none of the Abyssal Reef style underwater physics, which I'm a little disappointed in, but what is going on here? We got some rocks, some speed zones, as the probe is yeeting itself across the map. Interesting. This is like sort of like an oil platform or something. A launch bay. I like the outlines on the gas gassers. Looks very... It does look very nice. It has a unique look. It's quite bright, but, you know. Maybe I just don't go outside enough. Those aren't mutually exclusive. I believe it's a 4-player map. I believe incorrectly. This is not a main base. It's a 2-player map, just with a lot of space for activities. And I do love the little ways that map makers find to demonstrate features like Reaper jumps. Literally here. Interesting to have, huh? So this is not just a vision blocker, but I think it's also a building blocker. Which, I'm not sure what the implications of that. Maybe, but it's just that tiny area. Like the little exhaust pipe. Love this as well. Even the little cones. God, I should just do a nature documentary. And here we see the natural runoff of poorly planned civil engineering. Most of the military engineers died to charge lots in the last fight. So, unfortunately, they were unable to be here to patch up the map itself. So, I hope you know how to swim or fly. Unlike Billy and his friends, Bob, Cletus, and Bartholomew, who all died. Unrelated. It seems after 2 hectic games, well, I think game 2 was just hectic in my thought process, less the early game. It was a pretty, I don't want to say generic. I thought it said much construction, which, you know, is just one of the seasons we have here. We have winter and construction, which I'm named after one of them. But no, mech, which is something I doubt we'll see except as parts of the unit composition as opposed to the focus of the armies themselves. And I will say, I think this is one of the more rare maps, even from the map contest. I kind of doubt that either player has played this more than once or twice. And I think we're seeing, like, the little micro mistakes, the getting caught on rocks or flying into stalkers. That is the kind of stuff that will not happen after a month of playing any of these maps. It is, fool me once, and I might be fooled again, but good thing I played this game 300 times a week. Like, it is one of those little details that easily is remedied after a couple very painful experiences. I wonder if you can path on that sort of broken down area. Hallucinated Phoenix doesn't even survive long enough to see the Tech Lab starport, which is a little unfortunate for MaxPax, as that's definitely something you like to keep tabs on. He's even sending out another. So far, 1 probe. As we pass the 5-minute mark, there's a medevac. waiting for its moment. MaxPax is aware. The Cloak Banshees, he'll spot the upgrading tech lab. I don't think he'll cancel the Cloak. Shield batteries added on. A single shield battery is more than enough to defend against one Banshee, and not nearly enough to defend against two. Because two Banshees with focused fire can kill a probe before the shield battery has any chance to restore it. But a single Banshee, almost infinite energy to restore. Takes like 50 shots to drain. So the Banshee will be spotted by the Observer. Clem spots the Observer. He knows. And what is... Oh, there's a little ship over here. I guess, yeah, near the launch bay. Or refueling docks. Wow. What are these ships powered by? Monster Energy, just like the Team Liquid map contest. Thank you for asking. Another Banshee manages to punch through. If they're softened up enough, they do slightly more damage than the shield, so... Clem just hanging out in a spot. I don't know if the Stalkers went to engage, or... Still 2 probes is the tally. I feel like both players are just trying to navigate the gratuitous map here. Widowmine on the high ground. Will be spotted and should be taken out. Yes. The medevac takes a few hits as well. Will hang out over the water again. And then it doesn't and does. Well. I think that was a select all army hockey out of Clem. Will cost him. MaxPax charge is done. Right on time to deal with this attack. Where's the nearest Observer? The Banshees will cloak. Recharges the sentry for a couple force fields of questionable veracity. The siege tanks continue to move forward. It's just charge lots and stalkers here. Trying to deal with this heads up. Knocks down one Banshee, but the bio is still tearing through. This is the 3rd base, not the 4th or 5th. He really needs this to compete with Clem. But MaxPax, his Colossus, is finally trundling down the ramp. A force field again of questionable value. Down to 3 Marauders, but still has the siege tank. No Immortals to help deal with it. The Nexus is at half HP. The probe count dwindling as well. Some charge slots warped in mid-map. The tank will be taken out. He's trying to chase the Prism. Widowmine soften up some of the charge slots, but MaxPax suffering significant losses. He keeps the base, but he loses many of his probes and a lot of his more expensive units. And by that, I mean not too many of his more expensive. He lost 2 sentries and a Stalker. I really thought it was more than 1 Stalker. But no. Still, not an ideal position, to say the least. The Cloak deflects the projectiles. They don't land if they don't have detection. Extended Thermal Lance finally done. Oh, a massive drop. Trying to outflank MaxPax. Oh, where do you go? He's halfway across the map. There is recall available, but he doesn't want to waste it. In the main base, the Banshee actually made it. MaxPax is slapping together a defense. Trying to defuse the Widowmines. And by defuse, I mean trigger them and lose a Zealot or 2, but it's better than losing more. War Prism loaded up. A Viking, even a single Viking, that War Prism, I think it ate a Widowmine. Or some hits across the map, but MaxPax incrementing out the probes. It's +1 attack for either side. With a little bit of space, they both have finally found some time for another upgrade. Just a single one, +2 attack starts for MaxPax, +1 armor for Clem. The rocks down the center, they all have shared HP, which is how we do larger blockers with, while still making it not a huge deal. It's a quirk of the doodad system there, I think, but will be taken down and opens up a significantly quicker path here. Charge lots in the third base, or natural rather. The Colossi getting real up close and personal. He's trying to make sure that they don't get distracted by the command center, but you gotta be careful. He can juggle it back, but the Vikings are actually just targeting the warp prism. He phases it in. A warp in. The Vikings not in position to deal with this. Does MaxPax have enough, though? Just 2 Colossi to backstop this. The charge lots are taken down with relative ease. The Bio Army, they're 6 medevacs, which is enough to keep this all together. But they are quite strained. How many Marauders? 19 Marauders. Which you can clearly see the priorities. The Colossi. The only thing that can really deal with this. 5 Vikings. Dark Shrine is on the way. A Liberator on the 3rd base. 4th base is online. Charge lots on Clem's 3rd. Take out a couple SCVs. The rest, Citizen's Arrest. Oh, he spots the Colossi. Accidental pickup. A very dangerous position for both sides. Clem's army can easily jump MaxPax, especially if he's looking the wrong way for even a split second. He blinks away, he's going to lose all these Stalkers. But 4 Colossi is a lot to handle, especially with only 4 Vikings. A massive drop. He's putting all of his eggs in a big basket here. And unfortunately for Clem, the charge lots are going to spot it, which means he can intercept them. +2 attack is done for MaxPax. Clearly anticipating the attack over to the east side. I feel like we got to use cardinal directions with maps of this magnitude. Widowmine knocks the warp prism out of the sky. Colossi in position to box out the main army, but the drop is a huge amount of bio as well. Does MaxPax, he has a single Colossus, which might be enough. Guardian Shield? Then again, it might not. The charge lots are warped in. Colossus shield battery does almost nothing. He's going to take out the army over to the right, but Clem will not be stopped over to the left. He tries a recall, targets the Nexus. Recall is canceled. Warping is slowed. And MaxPax, oh no, it's a disaster. Clem rockets up 60 supply. MaxPax has been on tenuous footing throughout this game, and it looks like it may have just slipped away. Clem managed to find the fight, putting enough units in position to force a mistake. And it wasn't even a mistake, it was just impossible to predict exactly what Clem would have in those spots. Clem's been actively scanning for observers. The Vikings are in position, knocked down a Colossus. The main base depowered. There's not quite enough to stop this here, but the alternative 3rd base in MaxPax is on the ropes. And that's putting it generously. Colossus is down. Stalkers are all that's left. It's not good enough. He's stimming. He is winning. There's not enough left. 2-2 is about to complete, though MaxPax technically has +1 armor. Okay. Kiting back in the main. There's still not enough to deal with it. Gonna fight to the last picks up after killing the Stalker, of course. Chases down the last Colossus, and the Clempire strikes back. That's 2. Just a topsy-turvy match all around a massive map. Results in disaster. Clem managed to outmaneuver. MaxPax just a half step behind. Gets caught getting caught halfway across the map it's worse than base trading, because there's no good options at that stage. And now we're going into our Warcraft map. Blackrock. With the orcs looking on, judging, saying Warcraft is actually the epitome of RTS. Microing 1 unit is actually more important than microing a bunch of units. Maybe we should make a game mode that revolves around just microing 1 hero so we can get that feeling. And maybe we have some teammates who also have heroes. And maybe there's some towers or something and some units, but we would just focus on microing the heroes. I don't know what we call it. Defense of the base or something. .B. Sounds good. Working title. Can leave some comments. Oh. I was told there was no cow level. But there are sheep. This map has a significant amount of farm animals wandering around. I guess it is a lush pasture with a lot of... There's a lot of terrain. I don't just mean the trees and such. There's vision blockers, there's rocks, there's collapsible rocks for creating more rocks on the ground. It's another one of those meandering maps that... What are you doing, MaxPax? Is he gonna cancel the Zealot? When he wants to build the... He's just building a Zealot. Crazy. Again, the probe is in position. He doesn't send out the probe at the beginning of the map like Hero, but he does send it out early enough to make the expansion either difficult or delayed. It's kind of the same thing, but not exactly. A more measured style of play. But is that good enough? As we see with Clem, like, you can hedge your bets, but Clem, he's willing to commit. It's heroes, well, it didn't work out in this tournament, but a lot of the time it's heroes Forrest Gumpian style of Protoss, which, even if you asked him to explain it, I think he'd struggle. That sometimes finds success, because Clem can't predict it. Clem being arguably the third best Protoss versus Terran player in the world. Actually, that's not arguable. He is. And statistically, he's actually better than MaxPax and Hero, but that's only because he doesn't have to play against Clem, because we don't have the technology for Clem to play against himself. But that definitely boosts his win rate over previously mentioned Protoss. But speaking of those Protoss, there's a Zealot knocking on the door. He successfully delays the command center, which is a huge deal because that's also his next supply depot. He has to build another supply depot, which... certainly not helpful. Cuts into the build. Not having that second orbital command is already making it more difficult to follow this up. MaxPax delayed his command. He doesn't have a command center. Oh, wait. Stay in the trees! So, these trees, he's actually breaking the cyclone lock constantly with this stand of tall grass. He's using the Marine to keep vision. Can the Zealot do it? Oh, he can't lock out. He can't actually get anything. And here comes the Stalker. Oh, no. Wait, does Clem have any units? Locks onto the Stalker, backs off at the last second. Needs repair. What a duel. This little stand of grass outside the base, making it an order of magnitude easier for MaxPax to actually break the lock. And he can't stand still long enough. The Stalker kills the Cyclone. And now there's a Marine, a medevac, 2 mines. And I can't play the Benny Hill theme because of copyright infringement. But but wait, there's more. What is happening? And now they're kind of locked in by the mine. They might be able to make it out the left side. Oh, the mine, he unburrows! And it'll just get sniped off. A bit greedy. Blake is done! Oh, but wait, no! And they just keep... around and around we go! Where does it stop? No one knows. Saves a Marine. What a save. Now a siege tank comes down. Saving SCVs with a medevac, dodging the Stalker shots. A warp prism is coming across. He has 4-gate prism. He's going to continue the pressure. Clem does have a siege tank. A second one is halfway done. But one is not enough. And he doesn't have a... whoa, that's a lot of Stalkers. Oh, wow. Blinks forward past the mine, gets the medevac, and working on the SCVs, knocks the medevac out of the sky, targeting down the Marines. He's going to let the bunker come up, but I don't think he had much choice in the matter. But with only one tank, you cannot cover both bases. Tank spreading is not good enough. He's going to try to split the difference. Knows there's the tank. Does he just go? Blunks right on top. And Ghetto blinks back some of the stalkers. The Marines are not enough. The auto turret doesn't seem like it's enough. MaxPax is breaking through. The blink stalkers in this revolving door of Protoss is enough for MaxPax to equalize the series. The map that we've seen so many macro games ends kind of abruptly as MaxPax just executes Clem. If he hadn't danced with the Cyclone in and out of the grass for so long, if they hadn't played Will They, Won't They for the better part of a minute, then Clem would have, well, if he didn't take out the units, he would have had time to repair and regroup. But the fact that that Cyclone died opened up everything. The continued attack, the lack of a bunker. And by the time the Blink Stalkers came across the map, disaster. 2-2. Evenly matched. Both players. That was blackrock. That last, And now we're on Defender's Lab, which has curiously labeled base 55. 34. 54. What does it mean? I don't know. I tried to figure this out last time, but there doesn't seem to be any sort of... Because it's not even, like, clock positions, so... Like, why is this one also 55? But this is 75. Is this 75? No, I mean, is it? I don't. I'm just going to lose my mind thinking about it. There's a code. Just like, I've watched that movie with Forrest Gump in the Da Vinci Code. You know that one? Yeah, it's probably nothing like this. Engineering bay block, though. Slaps it down. Right on the 74, which means he's going to have to go to the 55. And now what? Clem has decided to take some more initiative. He'll cut into his own economy just a bit. But I believe he didn't scout at all last game, at least until Reaper. And that cost him. He was just if he had a bunker before the Stalker or Adept came in, none of that happens. It's not like MaxPax is going to lose them, but he certainly doesn't get as much damage done. He doesn't keep control of the game. But this time around, Clem forces early scouting by slapping down the engineering bay block. He will scout that MaxPax just expands to his third, much like a Zerg in Zerg versus Protoss. And MaxPax is going to do a proxy gate. He's going to turn this on its head. Clem is going Concussive Shell Marauder, which is great at sniping off individual units, and is not so great against an actual committed push. He's got a second Rax, so it's going to be yet another sort of style here. Huh. I have no idea how this goes. It really depends on when MaxPax shows his hand. He's doing a 3-gate. It's not really an all-in because Clem is so much later on the expansion. But he's moving out with the first 2 Marauders. This is a Chrono Boost Warp Gate. Get as many units as possible. This sort of build is designed to put pressure on before Blink or before a Stargate. Like you have 1 or 2 Stalkers maybe, and they get kneecapped by the Concussive Shell Marauders, which Clem clearly didn't anticipate taking 2 different paths to the base. But a quirk of the speed zone here in the center. But he just kind of shows up. And it doesn't matter how fast your warp gate is if there are no units to defend your mineral line. A pylon, warping in some more stalkers. He's actually going to bring the probes out in front. Another sniped. So, It should become apparent based on the sheer amount of Stalkers now what he's dealing with. But the Marauders go down very quickly. Meanwhile, there's an Adept delaying things. Only 2 barracks online at the moment, up against 3 gates. He did lose 5 probes. Oh, and the Adept, but a Marine in the mineral line will clean it up. Huh. He can pull the SCVs as well. But is that enough? A little bit late on the bunker. And, well, the Stalkers don't have Blink, but do they need it? He's chasing down the Marauder, just waltzing past. And Stim is done, but of dubious value at this HP. And MaxPax just kind of walks up with a bunch of units again. And Clem has almost nothing. Blink is on the way. That's a lot of Stalkers. He could just break down the wall. The SCVs can't easily hope to repair it. He stims everything. He's going to commit to trying to break down the ramp. More Stalkers warped in. He really wants to do what he can while stim is still an option. Couple Stalkers taken down. The SCVs are paying the price, though. MaxPax turning the tables. And if Blink... well... until Blink is done, it's still dicey. Misses a volley there. He's sniping off the Marines. The Marauder's doing a lot of damage. He has to pull the SCVs, but he's already a little bit late. One Marauder. Will take another Stalker volley, though. And Clem pulls the boys just in time to avert total disaster. Chasing down that one Stalker across the map. We'll snipe off the last Marauder. More Stalkers piling in. And MaxPax still has a decisive advantage. He did a lot of damage, and Clem just simply doesn't have the production. Though, losing that many Stalkers is the only really saving grace for Clem. The Marauder count is growing. He's distributing the damage quite well, but there's still one Marauder that it'll cost him a Stalker to snipe. Like, Clem is individually... they're both individually targeting so well. The unit count keeps going down to almost exactly 0, as the trades are nearly perfectly even. And medevacs are on the way. There is a situation here where if MaxPax only has single-digit Stalkers against even 10 supply of bio, the medevacs make it impossible to kill these units. Because there won't be enough Stalkers to one-shot, and otherwise the medevacs can save them from the Stalker shots. The medevacs aren't done yet. There are 2 on the way. Combat shield isn't there either, which means the Marines are still dying quickly. MaxPax keeps the pressure on, and now the Marauder count outstrips the Stalker count. Charge is on the way. 3rd base for MaxPax, but Clem has held it together. And with medevacs done? Oh, no. Well, these Marauders are still in the danger zone. And the Stalkers... snipes off another one. Still not quite enough. He's going to need to pull the boys yet again. The micro on both sides! Still dueling. Back and forth. The Stalkers. The SCV's out in front to buffer. Ghetto blinking back. The Prism. Speed zone. With any amount of charge lots becomes almost untenable, but Clem has kept the Stalker count to a level that is manageable. And the fact that the rest of the Stalkers aren't with this, he micros back the Marauders, and this is how it kind of falls apart for MaxPax. Or he brings it all together. The Stalkers versus the Marauders. The Marauders versus the Stalkers. The Stalker count is too damn high. Snipes off another Marauder. Make that 2. The Vikings to help out. They'd be great on the ground as well, but the boys are pulled yet again. As he needs to break this, but I don't know if he can. The Warp Prism is knocked down. Micro's back. Blink. Stalkers drag away some of the SCVs. So many of those Stalkers. There's like 1 Stalker of HP between 6 of them right now. But the shields are slowly but surely coming back. Charge is done. Clem will stim again. One of the most intense micro duels that I've ever seen. But unfortunately for Clem, it's not getting any easier. MaxPax has the production. He has the economy now. That wasn't true a minute or two ago. But the charge lots just take so many volleys. MaxPax, a few stray volleys there, but Clem a half step too far forward. The charge lots come in. We'll wipe out another. The Marauders being counted individually, but here's an Immortal. The boys will have to be pulled again. And Clem refuses to die. But the chances of him escaping from this predicament are infinitesimal. The Widowmine does everything it could. The Stalker's still so badly bruised. 6 kills. 4, 4, 8, 4. Oh, Stalker's all mass murderers. But the charge lots keep piling in. The first upgrades of the game. I don't think we'll ever see them complete, but the duel continues. Stalker. The charge lots just keep buffering. Clem is dying, but it's taking so long. His medevacs are out of energy. A Colossus. A new challenger approaches. GGWP. Wow, a mid-series WP from Clem. And most of the time, I think it's a little sarcastic, but against MaxPax, who he's always, honestly, against MaxPax, he's always respected MaxPax. I think he respects Hero, but it's just enraging to play against. Wow. What a duel. For like 7 minutes straight, every single unit used to its pretty much maximum effect. And MaxPax gets the edge, and he uses it to cut through. But at so many points, it still could have gone either way. We're on match point. 1 game from MaxPax becoming a champion yet again. MaxPax won the first season of the Revival Star League this year. And the Team Liquid map contest is around that same level of prestige. $5,000. And playing against the best of the best, clearly. He's just so good. When he's, like... He's been a little quiet. And also, there's the quirk of not being able to play in some tournaments because of certain requirements that he's unwilling to fulfill. But, aka being there in person or webcam, but to each their own. And MaxPax still... Jeez. He out-microed Clem. Which... He's on the single-person list of people who do that on a regular basis. Be like, what about Hero? Hero is Hero. And again, Clem is who prevented him from being here today. Gotta keep harping on that. Like, well... We'll probably end up seeing that series. And even if you know how it turns out, that doesn't mean you know how it goes. Whereas, I expected this series to be close. I thought Clem would have the edge, especially on new maps. But there's a chance MaxPax played 100 games on each of the maps. Like, he is well known to be... His grind set is #1 in the world. Bar none. It's almost guaranteed he plays more games of StarCraft 2 than pretty much anyone else. Well, he is Protoss, so many of the games are quicker, statistically, but playing literally thousands of games on the ladder a season and thousands of tournament games. But the first Reaper, he sent the Adept across... Oh, Citizen's Arrest! The probes caught him between the geyser. And... because he took out the Reaper immediately means that both these Adepts can focus entirely on Micro on the other side. He ran the risk of the Reaper being a constant threat. Usually you're not going to be able to pick it off, but Clem gets caught and killed. Now the Adepts, well, pick off another SCV. The Stalker... Well, there's nothing in the bunker, so he just easily takes out the Hellion, refuses to elaborate further, and leaves. Gotta refocus. That game, I really thought the game would just end. That's a testament, like, either of those players using those units would kill anyone else. Like, the early Stalker, like, in the same situation. The amount of micro they had to do to not lose on either side was unthinkable. If you broke that down, like, at 1/4 speed, if we somehow played like that, I seriously doubt most players, well, one, it's really awkward to try to play like that, but most players would be able to get even close. That game could have ended at the 4-minute mark, but it didn't. It went to like 11 or so. The same amount of tension, which, exhausting. But maybe not for these two. They're used to it. Youths. Yeah. Back pain's fine, by the way. It's going to be 4-gate robo. Another blink pressure. Auto turret, but that'll inspire the forward attack. But the SCVs were already pulled off the line preemptively, expecting exactly this. Clem was ready. With the bunker holding, the breach in the defenses that MaxPax usually looks to create will not be happening. If you can burst down the first bunker and then start working on the siege tanks, that's the ideal. The Raven manages to evade, gets into the dead zone where no ground units can follow. There's an observer in the main. I'm pretty sure Clem knows it's there. But he doesn't have the energy for scan yet, so he can't take it out. Yep. Gets a full scout of pretty much everything. The Blink Stalker is still waiting for their moment. A single tank, but the bio's all here. Stim is about to be done. MaxPax will not be getting critical damage with Blink Stalkers this game. The bulwark against them, it's a uncomfortable position with your tech labs on the outside, but he has the siege tanks behind. MaxPax is also very aware. I mean, he has that observer, so. The Raven lived. And no stalkers back at home. Gonna slap down an auto turret, keep him from mining, pick off a probe, and maybe make his way back home. It's a long journey, but the fact that MaxPax is only up a worker or two, and only just took the third base because he was so focused on the early blink pressure, well, puts him in a pretty comfortable spot. Clem, realizing he probably should have taken out that observer more quickly, but it strays into missile turret range. The Stalker's looking to bleed out as many of the Marines and Marauders on the way across as possible. We'll get several. Colossi in production. Colossus, rather. The Raven gets Edgar Allan Poe'd. The Colossus isn't quite done. Clem with a dangerous push. +1 isn't there either. A scan forward. He sees the chrono on the robo. He has to know what the major threats are, but the tank's jammed in. Unfortunately, charge is not done. The tanks are already in position. He can cut off the path to the third base, and that means the Marines will just stim their way down easily. Oh, clever move. And Clem will put himself in a very difficult to dislodge position. There's charge lots to the north, but Clem gets a moment of warning. Might be able to mitigate the damage. Siege tanks retarget onto the Stalkers. Micros forward to mitigate the Colossus fire. The Guardian shield from the sentries isn't enough. And Clem just tearing through. That's it! He just knocks him out. We're going to game 7. You paid for 7 games. You're gonna get 7 games. That's what a like and subscribe earned you. That's what Wardy brings you with another Team Liquid map contest. Game 7. Are you prepared to go Alls of A? Neither of them able to lock it down until our very final map. Lockdown. Game 7. Team Liquid Map Contest 2026. If you're watching this in the first few days, there should be a link in the description, or at least a pin cut. Jimmy, it might not be open yet, but when it is, and some of the games over the next week or so will likely be from the same tournament, if we got that set up right. So we will see 7 out of the 15 maps, the maximum number possible. Interesting, only one of the 3 or 4 multiplayer maps. Both these players vetoing away as many variables as possible, even with a new set. But here we go. All on the line. Clem with just a... That game looking more one-sided than a Mobius strip, as Clem just stomps the army. Perfect micro. Gets enough damage done. The Raven buying him enough time. But the details, that's where the devil is. And both of them beating the devil out of there. They don't make mistakes. Just happy little accident. SCV. Quite an early probe scout out of MaxPax this time. Not too surprising. Clem has not attempted a single proxy. And he's only done, I guess, proxy NG Bay. Does that really count? I'd say not really, but that's the closest. The probe will survive. For now. One Rax expand up against a 1 gate expand. Neither player willing to risk it all to butter their biscuit in the ace match. Stalker first as well. No adept trying to sneak across. There's a ramp up to the natural. Somewhat rare, but factors in dramatically for early defense. This makes it much easier to deal with things like blink stalkers or bio pushes. Any sort of ground-based attack is going to have a much tougher time getting up a ramp and a choke point like that. Just in keeping vision of the high ground, you can't blink in and kill a bunker if you can't see it until you blink. I guess technically you can, but you know what I mean. Twilight Council is on the way. So the only Stargate was game number 1, Storm Surge, which had middling success. Don't know if that was just a reaction Stargate as well. Some Zerg eggs all over here. There's a vision blocker right at the center and some rocks, but looking to see if there are any other features that are important to take note of. Relatively defensible third as well. Also on something of a platform. A Phoenix will get a full scout of what he can. Tech labbed factory. Very likely a Cyclone. Indeed it is. Medevac behind. And Siege Tank is the choice. He's not going to go with Widowmots. Interesting. Another hallucinated Phoenix. I'm just going to be working with, well, everything he's already pumped out. The Cyclone intercepts the hallucinated Phoenix, and it's unable to find a place to break the lock. But the Cyclone existing at all is kind of a bit of a tell in and of itself. A lot of Marines. He picks up into the medevac. A full complement. Trying to... Now, MaxPax is clearly anticipating this. He splits his stalkers, knowing it's not just going to be this. He knows the starport was there. Blink is still over 30 seconds out. And Clem will back off before it even begins. Does not want to risk losing either part of this. A Marine or two, sure. But the medevac itself, the Cyclone, would be a significantly greater loss, obviously. Just CG up in the center of the map, waiting for MaxPax to walk through with the Blink Stalkers, which he very well may. But this is shadow boxing right now. They're both playing... They're playing Clem versus MaxPax, much more than they're playing Terran versus Protoss at the moment. The mannerisms, the tendencies, they know each other better than probably any two players in the game. Especially considering Clem has based his entire Protoss style off of MaxPax originally. Has its own flavor, but is still very close to MaxPax's when you watch. But the tension. Game 7. The medevac spotted. Blink is done. Oh no. And the medevac barely survives. Wait, or does it? It's chased down. Goes down with most of the Marines. A significant loss. He blinks forward the tanks. Get a single volley, picks off a Stalker. Still a painful loss for Clem. Losing a bit of momentum that he was trying to gain from having that medevac at all. Immortal on the field. No Robo Bay, just making sure he has units against an early tank push. Hallucinated Phoenix will spot the entirety of the main base, which nothing unexpected, but that is something to note in and of itself. Warp Prism being added in. Robo Bay just now added on. And speaking of add-ons, a couple tech labs. Only Stim on the way so far. Clem, double medevac. No combat shield is kind of a... Yeah, no. He wanted to get the medevacs first, which makes sense. +1 attack has started for Clem. Whereas MaxPax just now finishing up a forge. So Clem will have the upgrade advantage, but again, not unsurprising at this stage. Does MaxPax know? The tanks unsiege? He doesn't know any of this. He's taking a guess, though. He knows where Clem isn't, and he can narrow it down from there. Just spotted it. Charge only just started. Trying to blink back, but stims a few Marauders out in front. Very risky to stick around, but no concussive shells means that the Stalkers, at least most of them, should be safe for now. A few not-so-charged lots are warped in, but Clem is only on 2 bases. And again, that ramp is going to be very helpful. The siege tanks are moving forward. The Warp Prism is in the main. Neither player paid attention to it. This is the 4th base from MaxPax. Optimistically being taken. I think it'll be shut down. And the Cyclone, does he have a scan? The Cyclone freaking out. Desperately wanting to kill the Warp Prism, unfortunately unable to do so. Observer will spot the main army. I think there's no way Clem didn't notice that.
Complete.
Extended Thermal Lance just started. Actually, on the later side, considering he already has another Colossus, very tense right now. Clem with a supply lead, but with Warp Gate, it can be a bit misleading. Can warp in 16 supply every 30 seconds if he's on point. Another base in the bottom right corner, but Clem will spot it immediately. The alternative 4th base. An observer directly over top of these siege tanks. MaxPax's going to reposition. Does Clem... He has to know that there should be an observer nearby if he doesn't spot this one. He doesn't have a scan at the moment to deal with it. He uses the scan, immediately kills the observer, but the position remains. The siege tank's on the wrong side of the command center. Without extended thermal lance, though, the Colossi have to get dangerously close to challenge the army. You can tell both players really, sometimes figuratively, sometimes literally, tiptoeing around the idea of an engagement here. Neither willing to put a ring on it. A Dark Shrine on the way. We've seen a few of them, but not so many Dark Templar. And not because their cloaking devices are so good, but usually they've been used in desperation, as opposed to the next step of tech. Clem! His army caught out, and the Colossi will take full advantage. He picks up a full evacuation. Oh no, Clem cleared off the field. Of course he's able to evacuate the majority, but not exactly the ideal start to the fight. The Colossi need to be targeted. They are. He lifts the command center to free up a better concave. It's good enough for now, but can he turn the fight? Clem, a couple Vikings. Not as focused as he might hope for. The force fields have pinned some of the bio up against it. Could you move, Command Center? I can't see. He topples the Colossi. And back at home, the drops. Terran through the Stalkers. There's not that much in defense besides, you know, one Colossus should be enough. And he spots the Dark Shrine. But the loss is devastating on both sides. MaxPax destroys slightly less total resources, but it included 20 SCVs. He's got a 30 worker lead, which means Clem has double the army supply at the moment. And he's going to use that to make the worker lead a lot less significant. Almost every single probe, all but 3 will be taken out. The Vikings, Colossus out in front. Shield stripped away, but the Dark Templar! Oh no! He saw the Dark Shrine, but I don't think it registered. And even if it did, he sent his army out. He has to consolidate. But the Dark Templar have undercut Clem's economy entirely. The Viking Micro is on point. Knocks down one Colossus. The Stalker's trying to duel. But he could warp and DTs as part of the defense as well. A lot of probes going down, but the bio's in autumn colors. There's enough Stalkers to be an existential threat to the medevacs. A scan of the main clears up another DT. There's one of the third. Recall into the main with the Stalkers. And Clem is running out of options. Drops out the bio, which is already badly bruised. He cannot afford to get this caught, but he can't afford to go back home and sit back. He's already lost so much of his economy. The Vikings get another salvo. Not quite enough to take down the Colossus, but MaxPax has 5 Nexi. He holds on to all of his bases. He holds on to a 30 supply lead. Clem has a 1 upgrade advantage, and this is the best case scenario, a perfect concave. The Colossus gets 1 swipe, incinerates a few Marines. It couldn't have gotten better than that. Guardian Shield, another Colossus on the high ground. Few charge lots in the third, in the natural. There's gonna be no home to go back to. He has to go forward. A single Colossus. The Marines out in front. Oh, Clem. A frustrating end. But a decisive one. MaxPax claims 4. He holds on. He stops the aggression of Clem, keeps the pressure with the Stalkers, and earns a 4-3 victory. He will be your Team Liquid Map Contest champion, navigating the treacherous, sometimes literal waters of the new map pool, treading it for long enough to survive by 1 game. But that's all it takes. MaxPax on fire lately. Clem looking very good, but just not good enough. MaxPax able to play with every single unit. Yes, there were a few missteps, but on a new map pool, that's not unlikely. So, MaxPax is your champion. And if the voting is ready by the time you see this, you'll see a comment pinned in the top. Jimmy? And if not, well, at least list out your top 5 maps from this series. And know that there's another 8 of them. We'll at least have a link to the map contest and the potential vote. I won't tell you my favorite. I like the tubes, though. The YouTubes. Which, if you got the means and motivation, would be awesome if you could check out Patreon or YouTube membership. But I hear liking and subscribing is still free for now. So thank you for watching. Thank you to our meal tier patrons. Big Jiggy, Devin Door, Kate, Mario, Suit, and everyone. I hope I made your day at least a little bit better. Make sure to check out this video Jimmy picked out just for you. I hope to see you next time. Good luck. Have fun. Congratulations to MaxPax. And stay chill.